Live from Toronto, coast to coast on the Fan Radio Network and on Rogers Sportsnet for Tuesday, September 26, 2006. It's Primetime Sports. I'm Bob McCown, along with Stephen Brunt of the Globe and Mail in our Toronto studios. Dan Shulman will join us. Champs are out. The Chicago White Sox will not be defending their World Series title. That's a bit of a surprise. But the Twins are in. Oakland's in. A couple of small market teams. The Detroit Tigers, who nobody picked, are in. And the Blue Jays have crept into second place, whatever that means. I don't happen to think much, but Shulman will be along to talk about it. Argonaut running back Ricky Williams back from the infirmary. He'll join us. And Mark Fainaru-Wada, the San Francisco Chronicle, is he on his way to jail? That and more coming up tonight on... Bottom of the hour, the radio program continues. It's Canada's most listened to sports talk presentation. We are coast to coast in Canada and the United States on the Fan Radio Network. Also, simulcast on Rogers Sportsnet. If it's important to you to understand exactly how beautiful Mr. Brunt is, you turn your television sets on. Don't do that alley thing. That's the very alley thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so pretty. A little bit later on, Dan Shulman of ESPN will join us for a little baseball talk. But first, the winning streak ended for the Toronto Argonauts in kind of crumbling fashion. It wasn't much of a performance by the club out in Calgary, but a tough place to win. And Calgary was red hot. They got another shot at it this weekend. But one of the good stories was the return of Ricky Williams after a lengthy absence. You know, you just started to get to see Ricky in action. Then he gets hurt, and you saw a glimpse. Actually, I thought it was a pretty good performance by Ricky, all things considered. You know, guys out for that long. And one of the interesting things was how much they used him in the early part of the ball game. And Ricky Williams joins us on the telephone now. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good to talk to you again. Were you a little surprised by how much you got the ball early in this one? Because under normal circumstances, they'd probably kind of ease you into it. They pretty much threw you in at the beginning of that game.
Well, it was my call. It wasn't really a coaching staff's call.
How so? Did you simply said, "I'm ready. Do whatever you need to"?
I mean, the whole thing is to come out of warm-ups and see how it felt, and I felt good in warm-ups, and so I mean, it was either I was going to start or I was going to play when I felt like, or I wasn't going to play at all. And, and because I felt good enough to start, then I was just starting running back.
I assume the arm was okay. Is the heel okay too?
Mm-hmm. I mean, everything's okay now. Yeah.
So there were no and do you have any? Does any part of you get uncomfortable or nervous in the first hit that you have to take either in practice or in a game after coming back off an injury?
Not me. I think if you compare the time I was out for the injury, which was about 2 months, to how long I've been playing football, which is about 16 years, it's not much comparison. So football is natural. Getting hurt's not so natural.
Yeah.
Now, Rick, how did it feel in coming back and being on the field? Because I read, Bob and I talked about this earlier. There were suggestions in the paper that people talked to you before the games that said you didn't sound that excited or didn't look like you were that anxious to get back on the field. I'm wondering, especially after the fact, what did it feel like getting back on the field?
Well, I think people understand me as far as being excited. I think if you really look at what excitement does, is it prevents you from performing well if you're too excited. And so my whole thing was just to approach it like any other day, except that I'd be playing football again. And I had a wonderful time on the field, and I think it was because I didn't get so excited about it.
Were there things? Do you set goals for yourself on the football field?
Well, as soon as I can find an advantage to setting goals on the football field, then I think I might try. But every time that I have set goals, in the end, it really just ended in disappointment.
And when you have set goals, do they tend to be longer term or shorter term? And when I say shorter term, I mean like for a game. Have you ever gone into a game and said, I'd like to accomplish this?
Well, I mean, not really, because when you play football and you understand the game, then you realize that it's a team game and there's 12 guys on the field, and so for one person to set goals is, I think, in my opinion, is quite foolish. I think the only goals that you should really set are just to be an example to your teammates to help lift them up. But as far as setting personal goals for yards or touchdowns or anything, and those are things that are very much out of your control.
But, given that, it's interesting you say that, because one of the things you hear athletes say all the time in team sports is that, well, or at least they say it for public consumption, is, well, there are no individual goals. It's not about me. They're only team goals, and I don't care what I do as long as the team wins. But that is out of your control. A lot of that, you're one little cog, and all kinds of things can happen that you have nothing to do with.
Well, the thing about football is you spend a week preparing for the game, and as Coach Clemens says, is the game is not won on Saturday when you're on the field. The game is won during your preparation, and so setting goals to me is nothing. But if you unless you set the goal that you're going to work really hard in practice, and the goal that you're going to watch a certain amount of film, and that you're going to lift a certain amount of weights. Those are the only goals that I believe really transfer into helping the team win games.
But that said, Ricky, I assume you guys worked real hard that week, and I assume you watched all kinds of film, and I'm sure the coaching staff had a good scheme approaching Calgary, and you guys got beat pretty soundly.
Well, I think you can't really say that, because I think if we did watch more film and we did prepare better, then we wouldn't have lost. What I'm saying is you can't separate the two. I think, for people to watch the game and to say that, that we didn't play well, whatever, I mean, that comes from somewhere. You don't just play well or not play well for no reason. There's always something that goes into it. And most of those things that go into it are things that are done behind the scenes, where people can't see what you're doing. Even so much as what people are doing when they go home, or how they're spending their off time. If you really want to win and you put the sacrifice and the work in to win, then you will win. And I believe that's 100% true.
Based on your experience, is the level of preparation, or the amount of preparation done in the Canadian Football League tangibly different from what you experienced in major U.S. college or at the NFL level?
Well, I mean, I think people are always trying to compare Canadian football to the football in the States, and they're two completely different games. And I don't think that it's in any circumstance ever appropriate to compare the two.
But a preparation is is principally a time and effort, and to some extent resource driven kind of idea. And it is clear that the resources of a major U.S. college, where you might have had 10, 12 assistant coaches, probably the same or more in the National Football League, you don't have that many people in the Canadian Football League. Does it mitigate what a team can do in terms of preparation?
Well, preparation, like I said, it's a different game, and I think the thing that I will say is that here in Canada, the preparation and the work falls more on the players than it does on the coaching staff. Where in college and in the NFL, the coaches do a whole lot of work, and they pretty much
they download it to you.
They try to download it to us.
Yeah.
But here, if you really wanted to succeed, you have to spend time, your own personal extra time preparing, and whether it's lifting weights, whether it's watching film, whatever, it just falls on you and how you manage your time away from the field. One of
the big differences here traditionally, Ricky, had been that, and I guess it's still to a degree true, is that guys had other jobs, that they weren't just football players. And I know that most of the guys on the Argos probably are just football players. That's what they do. But there are guys in this league who went and practiced, and then they went and did something else, or did something else and then went to practice. Does that change the dynamic versus an NFL situation where there is only one goal?
Well, again, we're getting back into comparing the two, and like I said, they're not the same. They're completely different. So it's really useless, and I think harmful to really compare the two.
The last time we sat down and talked, you had met Michael Clemens, but had not practiced with him as yet. Now, a couple of months into that relationship, what kind of a coach? How do you assess your coach?
Well, as personally, I mean, every day I come to work and I'm around Coach Clemens, it makes me want to be a better person, a better football player. And I think, nowadays in sports, as a head coach, the number one job is to motivate your players. And I think that just player's nature, is motivating for all of us.
But he is different, though, isn't he? There's far fewer X's and O's, and it's more about who you are as a person and what that relates to on the football field. Would you agree?
Well, in football, head coaches usually don't get involved in X's and O's on any level.
Sure.
it's more of an administrative position and a motivational position. But I think you're right in what you say about Pinner, is that he cares more about us as people and as men than he does us about football players.
Are you having fun, Ricky?
Again, we talk about fun, and I think if you look at fun, and there's certain things in your life that have to be in a certain place in order for you to have fun, and one of those things is approaching your job and with the right attitude, approaching your family life with the right attitude. And because I do those things, and my life is very smooth, my life is very easy, and I'm rarely ever stressed about anything. And to me, that is more valuable than fun, because you can go out with your friends and have some drinks, and you can have a wonderful time. But when you come home and deal with your wife, then it's not going to be so much fun. And so for me, I don't place much value in fun. I place much more value in just peace of mind and contentment. Do
you share the diapering duties at home?
No. During football season, because it takes so much out of you, other parts of your life usually do suffer. And then I have a great partner, and she takes care of me, and she doesn't mind taking the mommy duties 100%. So it's good.
Well, listen, thanks a lot for taking some time with us tonight. All the best, and we'll see you down the road, I hope. Best of luck, Ricky.
Thank you.
Ricky Williams of the Toronto Argonauts. Who is a different sort, and we've said that from the beginning. I quite like Ricky, and but it's much easier to sit across the table from him or beside him and talk than it is to do this. And yet, at the same time, he was far less abrupt, I think, with us tonight than he has been most recently.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't.
But he
doesn't spew cliches, Bob. So
no.
It's a different kind of answer. And I know. Look, I asked him if you're having fun. To me, that's a simple question. I have fun here. I have fun a lot of places. And I can answer that question pretty definitively, and I can say when I'm not having fun too. And obviously, he wanted to kind of deconstruct what fun is, and that's fine. That's
Ricky.
But that's Ricky.
And you can't take it personally, and you can't try and evaluate him based on that. He sees the world differently than we do.
Yeah, and his passing through here, whether this is it or whether, who knows, it goes on, has been an interesting experience.
Memorable.
His like has not passed through before that I've run into in professional sports, and whatever this turns into, football-wise or otherwise, it's been a slice. It's been really interesting.
Oh yeah, he is a fascinating guy. I'm trying to think of somebody more interesting that I've met in my entire life. I mean, I've met different kinds of people, but he is on another plane altogether. And the thing is, it's not. I don't want people to think he's that I think him as unusual. I think this guy has, for lack of a better word, depth. There's a depth to his personality that you just do not see every day, and you never see in an athlete. Ever, I've never seen it in 32 years.
Well, I've seen guys who are deep in different ways or who are thoughtful in different ways. I would say I've never met anyone quite like him or encountered anyone.
The closest.
Boy, now you put me on the spot because I'd have to think about it.
Now, we both got to know
David Cohn, interesting guy. There's a thinking guy. That's one guy I would think of who was aware of the world in which he competed and the larger world to a degree. An interesting, thoughtful guy. That's one. Have you ever read his book with Roger Angell? Anybody who's read that book would get the same idea.
No. But, well, you know what? But I thought Cohn was sort of on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
He had a depth that most athletes don't have, and an interest in things outside of sports that most athletes don't have.
That's right.
And a level of intelligence, quite frankly, that most athletes don't have. But I thought he was on the same plane. Ricky's not. I'm not on the same plane as Ricky.
No, I'm not sure any of us are. And I know I'm not, and I'm not laughing about that. I think I think he is a different.
And I'm not saying that derogatorily.
No, I know.
I mean, this guy is a different dude. No, if he wasn't a football player, if you met him on the street, if you saw, well, you know what he's told me on a couple of occasions. What would you do if you weren't playing football? I'd teach.
Why didn't the city fully embrace him, or hasn't it?
Because Ricky won't let you.
That's a good answer. Because it's not about football, Bob.
No. Ricky won't let you. Ricky will do all the things. One of the most unusual things that happened was early on. We got to go early on after. Because I met with Lee Steinberg and Ricky early before he even signed his contract, I guess, and they came to Toronto. And Lee talked about the things, the opportunities that might exist for Ricky on a business sense. And he came on this program and also talked about them. None of those things have materialized. And you could sit here and say, that I know of, and you could sit here and say, well, it's because Toronto hasn't embraced him and he hasn't been a big star, really, and blah, blah, blah. From the minute Lee Steinberg was telling me this, I said, Ricky Williams doing autographs, Ricky Williams going and speaking engagements, Ricky Williams doing a commercial for Joe's car dealership. Not happening. I think Lee Steinberg's expectations of what could happen with Ricky were a lot different than Ricky's expectations. I don't think Ricky cares. Ricky doesn't care.
Yeah.
Ricky doesn't care about money. He really doesn't. It's no sham. He walked away from the Miami Dolphins because he didn't care. Didn't care about money. Doesn't care now. Ain't making $500,000 like the Toronto Sun would have you believe. He's making $240 or $260. Can't remember which number. That's it. And I don't think he's making a nickel on the side.
Doesn't seem like it.
And I know what Ricky would say? Plenty. Guy slept at a yoga place on a cot.
Yes, he did.
15 minutes before the hour. Dan Schulman coming up next on Primetime. You're listening on the Fan Radio Network, watching on Sportsnet.
Computer security.
We're just talking about Ricky Williams during the break and his performance on the field, and how Ricky Williams has not really translated into attendance success for the Toronto Argonauts.
Or football success, really, because
Not
they
really.
did better when he wasn't playing.
Yeah, I think that's circumstantial.
Well, it was look who they beat. Yeah, actually, that winning streak was Hamilton, and Hamilton.
They didn't lose to the Calgary Stampeders because of Ricky Williams.
No.
Ricky Williams played okay.
Yeah, no, they got beat.
The
by a
rest
better
of
team.
them didn't play too well. But it is intriguing that the phenomenon has never really happened. But I think they were out there waiting for it to happen. I just said to you, I mean, there are more Ricky Williams jerseys than any other player by miles when you go into the Dome to watch an Argonaut game. They're waiting for him, hoping for him to do something. Ricky Williams needs a 150-yard game. That's what we expected.
Well,
maybe unrealistically. But that's what we expected.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even a 200-yard game because he's Ricky Williams. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. He's the number one running back in the National Football League. How can he come here and just be ordinary? And it's pretty much what he's been. Now, did he have the best offensive line in front of him? Has he been surrounded? His quarterback was out for a long time when he was playing, so there's a lot of factors in there, but still. Thanks to Ricky, thanks to Mark Fainer-Ruwada and to Dan Schulman for joining us on the program. For Brunt, McCown, see you tomorrow.